Hi guys, Keith Pressey here again. In this session we'll take a look at two ways that I encourage critical thinking in my classes. First, let's look at suggestion number 1, offering opposing viewpoints. These examples both came from a research class at the master's level. This particular discussion question, or what I call DQs, discusses primary and secondary sources from the literature. The student's initial post isn't shown here. While he did address primary and secondary sources in his paper, I wanted to make sure that he completely understood why those concepts are so important. Here's my response to his post. Please read these two lines right here. What I was doing was challenging him, in an unthreatening way of course, to support the need for secondary research sources. And here's the student's response. Don't read the whole paragraph, but do take note of his addressing my question and his mention of bibliographies and quote-unquote excellent advantage. I could tell from his post that he got it. And then here's my response. I supported his explanation, I told the student that his reasoning was correct, and then I further explained how bibliographies can help researchers. Notice that on every post I addressed the student by name. And I try to add some kind of a hi or hello or good day, just to make it a more personal and welcoming greeting. And then I thank the student for responding, sometimes, like in this case, a little bit more casually than others. Another way I encourage critical thinking is by presenting a scenario. This way the student has an opportunity to apply the concepts that they've just learned. This shows deeper understanding of the concept by applying it in a situation. This particular DQ discusses the differences between research questions and hypotheses. So from the student's initial post, again, not shown here, I couldn't really tell if he completely understood the subject matter and what the differences were that the discussion question was asking for. So here's my response to him. Please read this post and I'll be quiet while you do so. Notice that I told him that I wasn't completely sure if he understood the material. See, this way he would realize why I'm about to help him clarify some of the differences that the DQ was looking for. So I gave him another example, this time dealing with Asperger's syndrome. I chose that particular subject matter because that's the student's area of interest. So I would have a good chance of keeping his interest and getting a response back from him. As you can see, I actually gave him two examples. I figured as long as I had the student's attention, I may as well go for a twofer. And here's the student's response. First off, he thanks me for asking him for clarification. This is important. I know he's being sincere because if he wasn't, he probably wouldn't have even bothered to respond in the first place. But to me, he's thanking me because I've given him the opportunity to demonstrate his knowledge or mastery of the material. This provides a feel-good moment for students. It's like raising your hand in a traditional classroom when a teacher asks a question. And finally, here's my response. Please read this post. If used appropriately and sparingly, humor is a great way to keep students engaged. And here in the second paragraph, I again validate the student's correct response. And again, I flesh out the subject even further while I have the student connected by the Lead to More Discovery blurb right here. Looking back, I wish I had closed with something a little bit more pertinent than simply "thanks for replying." Since this conversation went deeper than many other conversations do, I wish I had made my closing line a little stronger to recognize that fact and to recognize the student as well. Sounds like a good opportunity for a badge, doesn't it? Okay, let's go ahead and review and wrap this thing up. 2 ways to encourage critical thinking are to offer opposing viewpoints and to have the student apply their cognitive skills in a scenario-based way. However, it also doesn't hurt if we greet each student by name when we respond to them, thank them for their posts, validate their responses, use humor when appropriate, or whatever else you can think of to elicit some critical thinking from our learners.